Calling his name is nothing. Yeah, I know. Oh, no,
Look at my key.
Grads? Yeah, just grads.
Now I can get out of here.
Perfect. Okay, we got them. We're good. We did. Well, we're going to talk
Of interrupting some conversation.
I thought you were out in the booth.
Did you think that was a godlike quality that I've never possessed? Yeah. But I've been accused by several people of interrupting conversations, but I'm going to do it for a good reason, because we're going to do a little filming and we're going to have a few people chat who wish to have a moment in our 60th high school grad reunion. And I just want to welcome everybody here today. There's a few people that were not able to be here that had planned to be here for a variety of reasons. But I thank each and every one of you that would make the effort to be here and get out of some of the normal Wednesday afternoon practices of napping and going to the library and some of the things that one might do. And
You've got to do this more often.
so we're thinking of doing this on an annual basis, because some of us don't get out that much.
No,
No.
some of us don't.
No, and I'm with you, Nancy. So, Nancy, you phone me sometime when you want to get out.
Yeah,
So, we'll.
I was going to, but then you came up with the idea.
Yeah. I just snatched that idea right out of your back pocket, I think. So, what I want to do is first of all, is to acknowledge some people who have put a lot of effort into today. And of course, there's Barbara and Joy and Sharon, who are out and about and assisting us in putting this together. So thank you very much.
And what about Maureen?
Well, we made her an honorary member. She's just a youngster.
Yeah, I know.
She's just a youngster, but we made her an honorary member because, it was my idea that let's just have lunch at our place.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was so easy, and anybody with long pants would think that's easy.
Yeah.
But when people who actually have to do some things and organize some things, and so Maureen's been very helpful, and I'm quite pleased after 50 odd years that she's been very useful. It's been very helpful.
Maybe you have been.
Well, I haven't been much at all really in my life. I've always thanked Maureen when we go through the tunnel in the evening when there's the counterflow lane, and so I say I'm thankful that I married you, Maureen, because we can go through the tunnel in 3 minutes versus 20 minutes.
More than that.
So she proves her time and her value to me, and so I thank Maureen for everything that she's done today. And she was up at 6:30 this morning, getting my pants ready, and
Yeah, making sure you look decent.
yeah, decent is an important word.
Maureen, your husband.
I was just extolling your virtues, and I thank you for everything that you've done in assisting us in putting this together. And it really wasn't all that difficult, was it? It was.
Oh, we even know. Yeah, we know, Maureen.
And I thought it was fitting that we would have our granddaughter here, Morgan, and her good friend Amber. They both graduated from the Elgin Park School last week. 296 of them as compared to 36 of us that graduated in 1956. They were 296. Oh,
How many graduated or graduated?
36.
30.
When you think about it, there were 21 beautiful women,
Yeah, that's
15 young immature lads, and I was one of them. And we had our moment back in 1956, so it was kind of fun to have Morgan here today. Her sister, our other granddaughter, she would have been here today, but she's writing a chemistry exam today. Yeah, chemistry. I hated chemistry.
oh my face.
Hated chemistry. She didn't get that from me.
I like English.
I was okay in English.
Okay.
I was better in athletics.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
you were.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, something.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a second and do a little modification on the microphone so that our recording sound is. Because you have such a powerful, powerful voice.
Usually
This
Maureen
was-
speaks for him.
Yeah.
Well, I was sort of adjusting for Maureen to speak, and then Doug jumped in.
He wouldn't give it up.
So he wouldn't give it up. So you continue to hold that. I'll just modify this.
Now you
I'm gonna go.
interrupted what you were saying.
We'll see how good his short-term memory is.
Oh.
Don't read.
Oh.
Now I have to turn my hearing aid up.
Oh, you have to spit in that mic, apparently.
So it was nice to have Morgan and her friend here because it was interesting to watch the sophistication and the evening that we went through. And I said next time I go to the Chondas Pattison Education Facility in South Delta that I'm going by helicopter because it took about an hour once we got off the road to find a parking place.
Oh, I know.
But it was well worth it just to see those kids and their sophistication and their little moment of turning into young adults. And I thought it would be interesting to have them here. It might be a bit of a shock because all the beautiful people that I remember in 1956, so, well, we're now that group of people.
Yes.
And so they're flash forwarding from 2016 back to 1956 and vice versa. And
They're saying, who are all those old people?
well, no, I think they're going to learn something from everything because I think it was Morley Phillips that told me a long time ago that even though we're getting a little older and a bit addle-brained to some extent, and my term, not his, that we're forgetting the odd thing. He said, Doug, you shouldn't really be thinking that way because I met him on the dike one day when he was pedaling his bike, and I was sitting on one of the benches with Louie, our dog.
Yeah.
And he said, are you Doug husband? And I said, yeah, I think so. And so we stopped and talked, and he related a story where the education system in London, England, had found about 40,000 IQ tests of kids that were just pre-teenagers, and they found a representative group some 50 odd years later, and they gave the same test to those older folks and found out that they were a lot smarter now than they were when they were 12 years old.
Well,
So that's there. So.
I sort of agree with that.
And so I thanked Morley for that. So he said, you should take some solace in that. He said, the only difference is the processing time. It takes a little longer for us to do things. So we might forget the odd name. We might forget the odd moment in time. So I walked away quite refreshed, feeling that Morley had taught me that. And I knew, I don't know if you know this, but I played basketball against Morley and Magnuson and some of these guys. They were better hockey players than they were basketball players. But it was fun to have an opportunity to see him again on the dike. So I also want to mention the fact that Roy Van Ryswick is going to call in at some point in time. He was supposed to be giving me some words that he would like to pass on to you, which he hasn't done yet because he was all excited today. He was going out to look at some unique bedrock. And as a geologist, he found that quite interesting as opposed to coming here and socializing with a group of his old friends. He was more interested in bedrock. But we won't hold that against him because that's his career. And he's still busy. He's still busy and he still has his dogs and he's showing the dogs. And one of the reasons he's not here is because of Iris has ALS. And it's just not easy to transport and move around. But, he's taken that very well. I've talked to him 2 or 3 times on the phone recently, and he was up and busy doing his things, and they have some acreage, and he was telling some of the old the tales that he's talked to you about before. But they built their own house, they built their own fences, they built their own barn, they built all the things that they need for habitation in the Enderby area, and they're quite settled in there and quite happy. And they can't be here. And if Roy gets through with his romance of Bedrock, he's going to phone in at some point in time. Nigel Chippendale was going to be here as well. He coincidentally was going to be here with his wife visiting friends in New Westminster, and he heard that we were having the reunion via Don North. And so we got in touch. He had a new email address that we didn't have at the time. And so he's given me some words that I'm going to pass on in a couple of minutes from those individuals. And Don North is out and about traveling and would like to be here, but he sent several emails to me, so I'm going to be passing that information along as well. But I do want to recognize this nice little banner that we have out in front. I got that from my sister actually. Assisted me on this because she taught at the old high school.
Oh, I know.
And she phoned the arts department and got the arts teacher in contact with myself, Mr. Boats, and he got a young gal by the name of Mackenzie Bowles, who's in the art class as a student, and so she put together something out of her head, and it's a nice little gesture. I thought it was kind of nice to have some welcoming recognition of the people who are here today. And I thought my neighbors would get a bit of a kick out of it, and some of our neighbors were talking because they don't think Maureen and I are even 60 years old.
Oh, no wonder.
No.
We're the only ones.
Yeah, so I said we were just hosting it. I said I was born in 56. So
We're the only ones that know the truth.
I know. We have to be careful, but it doesn't count today. No, I mentioned to Bruno that everything we do today is private and confidential. I'm an old mediator, so some things that we do are private and confidential, and everything stays here. It's like Las Vegas, so everybody's just going to stay here. So I was going to mention about lunch at 1:30. Well, we've had the lunch, and the lunch was okay.
Oh,
it was all right.
Very good.
And we also, just to test your mettle, based on Morley's observations before, we have a history quiz for everybody. And we're going to divide you up into teams, not necessarily with your own partner. And so we have a nice prize for people who can remember much about Delta High School and Delta itself. And Jim, you'll probably get most of these answers just snap. Don North, I gave the test to Don North. I sent it down to him, and he said I gave him a B+. He said that's the toughest test he's had since the Math 10 exam that he failed in 1954.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Don North wasn't great in math.
No.
But God bless him, he's very interested in...
He's very articulate.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And he's so feeling so good about his life, he sent along a picture. He has a picture of himself wearing his old high school sweater. So I'm going to pass that around.
The one with the holes in it?
Yeah, the one with the holes in it.
That was a special sweater.
Mothballs, yeah.
You know, at some point,
Yeah, he's getting a bit mothy himself.
yeah,
but that's-
we all are. But at some point, can you explain to me
Yes.
what Dawn does now?
Don has North Star Productions,
Yes.
and he's a journalist of some note, according to Don.
Yeah.
And he has been recently to Nigeria, where he was only a few hundred miles away from the Boko Haram people.
Okay.
He had a very short, I guess, training opportunity with one of the universities in the capital of Nigeria. So he's out and about traveling quite a bit, and I'm going to read some of the things that I've got here.
Doug, could I interrupt?
Yeah.
Wasn't he like a freelance journalist?
Yeah, well, North Star Production is his own. It's his own company.
And that goes back a long way.
And Don has covered, and he's covered almost every war that's been in this world of ours since 1960.
Yeah.
And he has sent me some videos of some of the things that he was involved in. And one was when he brought 3 Muslim gentlemen who had had their right hands cut off because they were dealing in American funds in a business that they owned, so their right hands were removed. Don had those 3 Muslim gentlemen brought over to the University of Texas. There's a hospital in that vicinity.
Okay.
And George Bush was there and met them, and they put artificial hands on those 3 individuals. He made a film of this and sent me a copy. And he's made lots of films about some of the terrorism and some of the wars that he's covered. But he says, you can't sell them anymore. People don't want to see those, even if you watch Netflix and see what's going on sometimes.
And we do see
and we
it on
all
TV.
and we do see it on TV. But it's hard. This doesn't have a lot of commercial value. And Don has written a book as well, and I have a copy of that book. And if anybody, I'm not sure if it's here. I lent it to somebody. But Don is he loves to write. We've been in his house. We were down there last fall after I retired, and that was the best part of our trip. Really, we went to Quebec City, and we took a cruise down the St. Lawrence River into Boston and down into New York, and then we went on to Washington. And Don met us there, and he picked us up and took us to his house. His house is, and I'm on the Museum and Archives here in Delta, and I said, what are you going to do with all this stuff? Because this house is full of all kinds of things that he's paintings and things that he's picked up from all around the globe. It's quite interesting, and his house is a bit of a museum in its own right. And I said we can always get the North Pavilion in the next museum facility that we have here in Delta. So here's one of Don's many comments. And the day is almost here. I found my old high school sweater, goes with his picture. And I put on what was left of it and typed some thoughts on being a grad 60 years ago and old geezers now. Kudos to Doug and Maureen and the grad committee for getting it all together. Sorry I can't be there in person today. We'll hope to hear all the news gathered and see lots of photos of everybody. Doug, we discussed earlier posts doing something for the present high school with regard to the 56 grads. Maybe plant a maple tree or a plaque displaying our names or some sort of book, etc. I mentioned in my letter today, remembering our missing class members, I hope you will put out a list of those who have passed before us. And he said, enjoy the party. So,
Yeah.
I want to get...
Do you need a chair? Can somebody get
So with that in mind, I don't want to turn this into a downer, but we are so pleased to see so many people here today that are healthy and happy and reasonably healthy and happy. But we've had a number of individuals, and there may be more, but this is what I was able to get from the list. I think we had 81 classmates starting in grade 7, and
81.
And 36 of us graduated, of course, and people like Jim, one of the brighter people around. He went to grade 10, as a lot of kids did in those days, and a lot of kids went fishing and farming and didn't finish high school, but he's been much the part of our family over the years, and we're pleased to have Jim here amongst other people here today.
Oh, yeah.
But the people that we've lost, and I'm going to list them slowly just so that we can kind of absorb this. The Tex Birch is gone. Stan Falkus, Teresa Galeazzo, Buddy Iverson, Jim James, Midori Kawano, Helvie Lady Frizzell. Helvie and I went to school from grade 1 on. She's the only, I met Jim in grade 2 because I came to the Ladner High Elementary School for grade 2, but I took grade 1 with my mother, who was a school principal of the Sunbury School, and she used to pick up Helvie Lady. And so Helvie Lady sat in front of me in school, and she had little pigtails, and we had little inkwells, and I used to, of course, be a typical little character.
Yeah.
I was always trying to put her pigtails in the inkwell, which is typical. So Helvie's the only one that I actually went through school from grade.
Well, for a long time ago.
Well, the inkwells, yeah. But there was a place for inkwells. And Bert, of course, passed away within the last 5 years, Bert Frizzell. And he was a good buddy of mine. We played lots of sports together, basketball and a little bit of golf. And so there's some people of this group that I really miss, because there's some that we had more interaction and involvement than others. Marilyn Norham has passed on. Rosemary Husvik. Denny Wallace is Jack's brother. And he was a character in his own right, and he was gone within a few days of graduation. And much to the sorrow of a lot of people, he died on a motorcycle and on the old Boundary Bay Road. And Roberta Williams has passed on. Bill DeBrilla went into the fishing business. Larry Dahl, Butch Reamer died in an unfortunate accident. He was in the trucking business and gravel business, and that he died a rather unfortunate manner in a.
He was a great golfer, though.
He was a great golfer, and he was a good athlete. But he's not with us anymore. And Wayne Liston has passed on, and Dave Sarberg, and Bill Moore, and that's all the list that I have.
Did you mention Vern Sira?
Pardon me?
Vern Sira? Oh, he hasn't passed.
No, Vern's here.
he's still-
Vern would have liked to have been. In fact, they were coming, but he's had a number of surgeries in the last bit of
I
time.
understand that.
And he was, yeah, most of us, none of us are going to die pretty or healthy. I'm talking about the guys now. I'm not talking about the girls. We're all going through.
Sylvia
Oh,
Fields.
Sylvia's passed on. I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, thank you for
How
that.
did you know that?
It was in the Optimist. It was in the paper.
It
Oh,
was?
neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So I
I
thought-
phoned Ron and he said there was going to be no service. So.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how she passed away. So that was.
She had many illnesses.
Well, thank you for that.
She had many illnesses. Yeah. She had a shitload.
And then I believe we had. Does anybody have any other names besides the ones that I've listed that we've passed? That's not a long list, considering there were 81 of us at the
But how
time.
many is that? That is a long list for me, hearing all those.
Well, without adding it up, but I'm going to say it's
No.
about 15 people out of 81. So that's not bad. So must be the air, must be all the vitamins. Ron Kopchenko has been to our reunions in the past. I remember Nancy and Ron Kopchenko in 1986 ran up to each other with name tags on, and they went running up.
Running past.
And no, you ran into each other, and they both were. I was watching. They were hugging and excited.
Yeah, and then I looked at
then you stepped back a little bit, like, "Who are you?" And then he identified, "I'm Ronnie Kopchenko."
Yeah.
And you're still not with
With it.
you weren't with it there.
Yeah.
And so they both kind of just wandered away, kind of sheepishly. It was not.
Until we connected, I think, until I connected with Shirley Jensen. Yeah. And I remember, and Shirley's not with us.
Yeah, and I'm thank you for mentioning that, because
Yeah.
Shirley's been an important part of our school and a part of the grad committee for years, and Joy can talk more about that than I, but she is not well at the present time. I believe it's Alzheimer's, it's been classified as that, and I say Joy can talk about that, but she isn't with us today, and I felt bad about that, because when we first got together, I sent a note around to the usual folk, and I was expecting that Shirley would be coming, and Joy and Shirley are best friends and always came
Yes.
together. And Joy arrived without Shirley and told us what was going on in their life. And Shirley's still at home, but she's not well and not able to be in a social environment like this. And so we feel bad about that because
Yeah, she was
yeah.
all
I
Irish.
Zelma Snyder.
Zelma is still with us, and I've got many notes from Zelma.
Okay.
Yeah, she's very chatty, and we're going to get into that very shortly. And I think I'll also mention we've taken a picture of a painting that was given to my sister of the old high school.
Oh,
And when she retired, she was still teaching in that school. And so that picture there, framed picture, we have one for everybody. Not that anybody necessarily covets a picture of our old high school, but this is a little gesture, just as a memento. That school has been taken down over 20 odd years ago. And so, just like some of our past colleagues in school, but we want you to take one away, and then you can put it somewhere. You can give it to the thrift shop, whatever you want. But we just thought you could have something as a memento because,
choose another gift shop. Another.
like I have a lot of fond memories from being in that school.
Oh, I do too.
And we were there up until grade 10, until we got the flat roofed, not a very pleasant
Not a nice
facility.
one.
No, but I like this
I
school.
think Miss Fair's room was down there in this corner.
Yeah, and
I remember the boys being hung.
well, that was me hanging Roy Dowding.
Yeah,
Roy
so
Dowding,
were the-
because Roy Dowding was going with Sharon Savage at the time,
Oh yeah.
and I was kind of looking at Sharon Savage. Maureen, say hello.
Somebody answered it.
Hold on.
She answered it.
And then
Yeah, I'm
Maureen
going to
answered
put
it
the
somewhere.
speakerphone on.
Okay.
Okay, here's Doug.
We're on
Doug,
speaker. It's on
Doug
speaker.
is Doug.
Who do we have?
Who's this?
Hi, it's Nigel.
Nigel.
Nigel. Okay.
Nigel, how are you?
I'm just fine now.
Wh-
I
wh-
wasn't so good a week ago.
No,
I'm doing okay now.
no, you weren't. I've got some phones out here, and I'm going to turn Ronnie, you got the speakerphone on?
Okay.
Okay.
Stick the mic to it.
Nigel, we miss you. This is
Yes,
Nancy
I'm very
Fraser.
disappointed not to be there. I was fully planning to be there, and up to about 2 weeks ago, and then certain events intervened, and I had surgery a week ago, and on my carotid artery, and
That's the word.
it came as quite a shock, and I'm recovering well, doing fine, and I've still got dressings on my neck and so on, but I'm getting over it just fine.
So Nigel, you're back home right now, are you?
Yes, I'm home. In fact, they released me from the hospital the day after, the morning after the surgery. So
Yeah.
it didn't take long at all.
Yeah.
What hospital were you in?
I was in the Ottawa Civic.
So Nigel, just to give you a sort of a setting of where we've had lunch.
Yeah.
We have about 25 of the most beautiful, handsome people that you used to associate with sitting around in our backyard. And it's a lovely sunny day. We're a little bit concerned because yesterday we were having cloudbursts and hail. But Barb Carstairs and Gordy Wright, Barb Wright, I phoned them and I got them to pray to make sure that we would have a blessing today. So fortunately we have it, and it's God's will that we're all sitting around outside in our backyard and enjoying the moment. So we'd like to hear some of the. You sent me an email about 3 weeks ago or so about what you were doing and that sort of thing. And if you'd like to recall some of those stories, there may be some questions from some of the people that are here today. So good to have you with us.
It's good to be with you, even if it's a long way away. Well, let's see. What do I need to tell you? Basically, as far as my general life is concerned, it's about 2 years ago that I retired from my job as a consultant for the federal government, and since then we've led a fairly quiet life and traveled somewhat and mostly to the States, incidentally.
I'm hearing the
He
quote.
gone north last fall
Oh,
and had a very nice visit with Don and his wife, and then went off from there and saw some of the rest of Virginia, and we also traveled in New York State. Otherwise, we've done things with our kids. We have 3 children. They're all in their 40s and 50s now. And Paul, our oldest one, is Paul, and he's a professor at the University of Texas in Arlington. And he's a professor of genetics, of evolutionary genetics.
wow.
And our younger son is also a professor of evolutionary genetics, and he's at Queen's University. And our daughter is a public servant, as a senior public servant working for the Courts Administration Service. So that's, I don't know, what else do we need to do?
So you don't have any ordinary people in your family?
Sorry.
You don't have any ordinaries. There's a lot of ordinary folks here in Ladner.
Well, anyway, that's about us, and we've got 3 grandchildren, and so there we are.
Does anybody have any questions for Nigel?
I just wanted to say, Nigel, I'm not surprised about your children doing those kind of unusual things. They're taking those unusual things at university, because I could see you doing that. Looking back, I always thought that you were the most intelligent person in our class.
He was.
and it all works out that way. This is Nancy Friesen speaking, by the way.
Hi there.
Huntley.
Nancy Huntley.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, you were very intelligent, and then there was others, me included.
And most of the others are here today.
So, you know, the others who maybe didn't, weren't silly like I was, maybe a bit, just turned out to be wonderful people and do very well.
Well, it was Delta High was a great experience for me, you know.
Yes.
I came from England, and I had not had a very successful academic career in England, I must say. I mean, I did for a while, but then the last couple of years that before we came, I think part of the reason my parents moved to Canada was to get me out of the British school system.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it was just a revelation. I mean, it was just like night and day, you know, and it was a whole new chance at things, and it worked out.
So that Ladner environment that we created for you, Nigel, worked out very nicely for you.
Oh yeah, yes, it was a great experience. I mean,
Really, Nigel, I
couldn't have asked for more.
Nigel, I remember what a flippity jib I was, and that I probably couldn't talk with you, Nigel, because. So if I couldn't, I apologize.
No, that's not at all how I remember anything.
Okay.
No, it was a wonderful experience. It was
I'm glad
exactly
to
what
hear.
I needed.
Oh.
There was a great bunch of people.
Okay.
You know, it was. I mean, it was exactly what I needed, and you people were great, and I enjoyed it enormously.
Well, I look around and I think everybody here is great. And it's nice to still be talking to each other.
Yes. I'm hoping that in the fall,
Yes?
that we might come out there, take a trip out there, and visit some of you.
Well, you know what? Call Doug. And we will arrange for us to be together, not necessarily here, but so that we can all meet you.
Motel room,
That
I
would be
think.
nice, yeah.
Yeah, Nigel, do that. If you're out this way, be absolutely certain to give us a phone call. And there's enough of us around that we can have a excuse me, a mini little get together. And just pick up some of the threads of what we're trying to do through this reunion here today.
That would be great, yes.
It's good of you to call us. I'm going to probably move along a little bit, only because Roy Van Ryswick's going to give us a phone call shortly. And we really appreciate hearing from you. And hopefully the surgery goes well. Leona wants to say something.
Yes.
I just want to say that I remember Nigel very well, and we also have many other scholars here today as well.
Good to hear from you.
Way to go, Leona. That's good of you to say. Hey, good of you to say that. You know, actually, we're a class of 36, and we developed scholars and nurses and engineers and geologists and business people and farmers who have been very successful. We've had a successful entourage of people that we graduated with, and you were very important to us, Nigel. And I know you've had a very good career in the Ottawa area as a policy consultant and working with the federal government. And Nancy wants to give you a hug, but she can't. So be sure when you are out here that we will give her that opportunity.
And give you an
I'll
opportunity.
try to make sure I get there.
Yeah, appreciate that, and thanks for calling, Nigel.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Nigel.
Yeah, they really appreciate hearing from you, and we'll see you in the fall if things work out for you.
I hope so.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Way to go, Leona! Yay!
Well, I mean, it was nice to talk with you.
It was nice. It was.
I was watching. Do you know, it's true about Nigel.
My mom was his mom.
You know, he was so smart that I was afraid of him almost because he was so intelligent. And I felt
Always
so
lived out there during the time, but they were
Okay, Doug, what's up next? Nancy's so excited.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, he was just so smart.
So I'm thinking, Nancy.
What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking I've been up here too damn long.
No.
And we have a few more things to say. We have some, but maybe it's time for a change. And you and Judy might want to get up here and to talk a little bit
She'll
about.
phone Nigel.
No. Well, really, I don't have much to say. I've said it all. And where is Judy? Anyway, we talked.
You and Judy were the highlight of our last
I know,
reunion.
but when I phoned
Can't let us
Judy,
down.
the other night, I said, Judy, there may be some expectations. Do you have any ideas? And she said, no, I'm too tired. But I was tired too. I think.
You're looking backwards. Is Judy over there? Judy,
Yeah.
come out here.
Judy's taking a picture.
Just a sec, Doug. I'll be
Are you doing a selfie?
No, I'm not. I don't know how to do selfies. I don't know how to do it.
You know what? Maybe it's time for everybody to maybe talk about being how they feel in any way, shape, or form. Ladner.
Well, I think that we're going to take a little moment and allow you and Judy to come up here and tell us how you think and what you find enjoyable in life today. And I know that you have that intrinsic humor.
Has a life. Well, I do too.
Like you guys were the stars of the last get-together.
Come on, you guys.
Judy,
Get up.
if Nigel could phone us, and he's had an artery severed off and barely survived.
We're all with you to say it. I think, Judy, there's probably some music in you.
What are you suggesting?
I don't know. She sang a song.
Sing song?
Sing lead. What music was around?
You sang it
Oh, nice.
Was it?
Climb every mountain.
Oh, I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill.
Oh, you're lowering the level, Nancy.
I know.
Pat's Domino.
Yeah. Well, that's what the music. Well, I know.
Singing.
Don't say no, no, no. We know Tweedledee. Tweedledee. Well, Charles River. I can't sing. That's something that
we'll sing
happened to me.
Come on. Everybody together now.
Well, you know what?
Get up and talk.
I think
Nancy,
Judy.
Maureen wants you to
You
come up
don't
here.
sing, Nancy's going to.
Nancy's going to sing solo if you don't sing.
Solo? Are you kidding?
Solo. When we put on Little
Solo.
Abner, remember Nancy? We put on Little Abner and we sang On Top of Old Smoky or something.
I know, I can't remember the words anymore. Well, come closer. You've been hanging around the door. So, Judy, this is Nancy Friesen speaking.
Judy Allen, Judy McIver.
Yeah. So we have remained friends over the last million years.
Nancy,
Yes.
like that.
Okay. So we have remained friends. Right. We have remained friends over the last 60 years. God, that's a fright.
60, how about 65?
65 years.
Since grade 8 is when
Yeah.
I met Nancy. She folded me into her ample bosom.
Which I had at that time.
You don't know.
But Judy and I came to Ladner, and I remember 1948 because I remember the floods. And I came down on the PGE or whatever it was called, and my mother was on her own. They had, my father and she had separated, and then there was my two siblings, Michael and Melinda. So when I look back and think about my mother with leaving my father, with my father saying, "You'll never make it," and she saying, "Yes, I will," but poor mother, what she went through raising 3 children. Of course, I being the eldest and the most responsible, I took some of that on. I'm not really wanting to say that I'm perfect, but the eldest always tried hard. I tried to get good marks. I tried.
You got good, Mark.
I discovered when looking back on my old report cards that they weren't as good as I thought they were. And I have thrown them out and kept my thoughts to myself. And, talking to my siblings and to myself and others, Ladner was a good place to grow up. It was, for me, times when my family life was not as good as I would have wanted it to be. I went to Judy's house And her mom, I remember, always baked cookies or something for me. Judy always suspect of her mother's cookies. She wouldn't eat it, but I enjoyed those. And then from then I would stay at Bev's, Swenson's place, and there was so much activity going on there. And your siblings were all dancing to all the war music. I remember that in your home they were dancing to, you know, a lot of music that came out of World War II. And I spent a lot of time, with Barbara's family. And even though I got to be a little nervous of her dad, well, because he was so, I couldn't understand him, you know, and because he was from Scotland, and nothing against anybody from Scotland, but he had a very, very, you know, and then he'd make jokes, and that was worse. The jokes were really, well, then I didn't know whether to laugh or leave. Judy, don't do that. And but Barb, remember, I'd go upstairs afterwards and stay overnight, and I'd ask Barb what it all meant, and she kind of calmed me down, but her mother was really nice and very kind, and all those things. Yes, she was, and he was too. He was just a bit scary. I couldn't understand him. And then there was the other man living in your house too. Your Uncle Bert, and Dad's
brother.
Yeah, and so anyway, those three families. And I know I've left people out, but not any of the guys. But those families meant so much to me when I was a younger teenager and an older teenager. And their friendship is still, everybody's friendship here means something to me as I am oldering. And I like that word, oldering, because I can't really believe it. I was going to write a book by this time, and I haven't.
Too late now.
And I've written poetry, and my sister, who has become more like me, is doing all these things. Nancy, start writing poetry. Start doing this. And my sister is 6 years younger than I am. And now she's become more like me. I don't know what that means. Anyway, I'm going to pass this over to Judy and let her talk. I hope I've given you an idea about Ladner.
Judy's going to have to move in.
Okay. Ladner was such a small place. I mean, you know, I think that I really was very lucky to grow up in Ladner. I mean, growing up is fun, and growing up is full of pain too sometimes. But when I think of the innocence of us all in those years, I mean, I don't feel it with my own, you know, grandchildren. They're wonderful, but we were so innocent. You know, I thought,
Nancy, we used to leave our houses unlocked.
I know, I remember, we did too. And that was wonderful. And the things that we thought were really bad were insignificant, even though I would still think it was really significant. I remember on Halloween pushing over an outhouse out on Westham Island or something. You must have, somebody else was with me, or when we somehow the you know, the electricity we turned off or something.
I got something.
In all of Ladner? No, it couldn't be all of Ladner.
Judy jumped in there.
Yes, Judy, I'm going to give this to you because Judy's house
You gotta grab
was
it,
a
Judy.
party house. I'm just going to go under. Whoa, there. Gordy.
I feel like we're doing the dozy do in the square dance. thing.
Yes, I know.
Did we do square dancing in Delta Gym? Hi, everybody.
A little bit.
My heart's going bangity bang. I'm not calm and eloquent like Nancy.
Oh, God.
No, seriously, you do very well. I'm just thinking of the teachers because when my dad became the principal in 1956,
Hold it here.
1956, our family moved here, and we lived in an old house, Dr. Dodd's house, on Weston Road, almost next door to Ronnie Kopchenko.
Okay.
Yeah, and we used to fish for bullheads in the canal.
Yeah, there aren't any left.
No, I'm sure there aren't any.
Or frogs.
Anyway, so many memories crowd in, but I think a lot of new teachers came the year that my dad was principal. I'm thinking particularly of Darrell Parker, French, who fell out of Mrs. Klinkhammer's window.
Yeah.
Right?
And he was a bit weird.
He was very nice.
Well, I guess.
He tried so hard, dear Darrell Parker. He was about this tall and this wide.
Yeah.
I remember he did a lesson once on items you would find in a French drugstore. So we all fell on the floor laughing over that one, as if we knew what we would be talking about. I remember Carrie Christofferson. Is that correct? The home ec teacher, because I was a hopeless sewer. I would take my project home to my mom, and she would finish it for me.
Oh.
She was a good sewer. Who else? Mr. Thorne, our typing teacher. He was a long-suffering, very genteel man.
Long suffering.
Mr. Cowan, Nancy and I had reveries over Mr. Cowan.
God, I had a crush on him.
We both did, but he liked you. But you know who he really liked was Shirley Jensen.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
So everybody.
Yes, he was. He was good.
Well, he was a nice teacher, but we had a crush on him.
I didn't.
Do you remember our history teacher, social studies teacher, grade 9? Mrs. Aspinall, am I right?
Yeah.
She wore the same plaid skirt every day for 2.5 years. I don't know when, I guess she got it cleaned on the weekends. I don't know.
Who was that, Judy? I missed it.
Mrs.
More than one of that skirt.
Maybe so. Mrs. Aspinall, was she our history teacher? Did I just say that?
You just say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I can see
I know
her
who you're
clear,
talking about.
clear as a
Was
bell.
she French or?
Oh, Vic Mitchell was, I was just talking to my granddaughter who graduated from Lord Byng a couple of weeks ago, and she said her history teacher came to the dry grad, and I thought right away of Vic Mitchell because he wore a different tie every day for the whole 280 days of school. Also, he played music at the party. Rasputin, what was that? That's Boney M.
Yeah. I can't
Cheers,
remember.
cheers, Rasputin. And he
Yeah.
dressed up like Rasputin and danced. He did the Russian dance, you know. With
Oh,
that. So, but that reminded me right away of Vic Mitchell.
Yeah.
I don't think he danced for us, but he wore costumes and had accents and.
Well, the thing that I sort of judged him on was that he said to you that I had the voice of a sex-starved cobra.
Wishful thinking on his part, probably.
And I sort of yeah, and I had no feel. I did not.
He wasn't hunga like Mr. Cowan.
I think he was gay. Yeah.
Anyway,
Next door, how far?
he did?
Yeah,
Vic Mitchell
He
did?
used to have a little prefect car.
Oh, a little brown job
and
that he drove into the
hated it
ground.
with a powder puff.
Ah.
I remember that. And then he got in the ditch just out by our house.
Oh.
We've got pictures of it if you ever want to see it.
Oh.
He lives in Victoria. I know. When my dad died, he wrote me a lovely letter. Yeah, and I've always been meaning to go and see him, and I never have. Yeah. How much time do I have? Because I could ramble. No, but I'm not as good a speaker as Nancy.
No, that's not true. You kept saying that.
Anyway, a couple of other teachers in my mind. Let's see.
Judy,
Ernie
I want
Marshall?
to mention one thing, if
Yeah.
you would. That your dad was the principal. And
Here you go.
Judy's dad was the principal in the old days
Yeah.
when you could get the strap.
Oh yes, 52 to 56. And may I mention one particular person that did get the strap? But I'm tattling, aren't I?
Oh, it's okay.
His name was Shane. He was in grade 12 and we were in grade 8.
Shane Dennison?
Shane Dennison. My dad gave him the strap.
Okay.
My lovely, gentle, kind father. Do you know what Shane did? He wrote some graffiti on a student's painting that was hanging in the hall. That was his crime.
Well, that was a big crime. for
Compare
me.
it to what goes on now.
Well, I know, but I mean, it's art.
I talked about Mr. Thorne.
What
Mr.
about-
Lynch.
Yes, my
Dear
English.
old Mr. Lynch.
Oh,
Yeah, he was a very good
I
English teacher.
learned. I
Yeah.
loved English.
Oh yeah, we all did.
No crushes on Mr. Lynch.
No, he was a family man. Also with Mr.
Well,
Tom.
Mr. Bill
I never
was a
knew she
family
was so
man.
horny when she was in school.
Yeah, no.
You missed your chance.
Yeah.
And Miss Fair, Doug said that Miss Fair's gone now.
Where did she
Yeah.
go? I just, that expression has gone now. I'm sorry, Judy.
Never mind.
It's just an expression when people, and you talk about somebody's died, like
Moved away.
like my husband died 9 years ago, and he didn't just move over
The rainbow
or whatever.
Okay.
There's some expressions that we all interpret. Yes, that's of course true.
His name was Harvey, wasn't it?
Harvard, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm running out of teachers' names, which is, I'm sure there were about 24 more. But a lot of, who is our Mr. Good, our social studies teacher? Wasn't he fine?
Will you ever forget
Was
him?
he?
There were,
He used to undo his button on his jacket and do it up. Undo it, do it up. Undo it, do it up.
he was nervous maybe.
Well, did we do anything to frighten teachers?
Miss Fair, do you remember how evil we were?
How? What did we do?
It was my first year at Delta, and Miss Fair it was her first year
She
teaching.
was totally religious.
She was, but we won't hold that against her.
No.
But we used to sit and jiggle at our desks until the windows would shake.
Did
And her favorite thing, I think, bless her heart, because I think we all loved her way down deep, was reading the Bible in the morning.
Oh my gosh, we
It was,
did
and
used
so
to read the Bible.
well, she did because she
Oh,
loved
she
it.
did.
And she
That's-
and
everybody
some
did.
roue, or that's the wrong word, renegade, wrong word,
Yeah.
hid her Bible one morning. And I won't point any fingers, but I mean, I don't know who did it, but probably someone that's not here today.
Say that.
Looking around.
Didn't have Mr. Kushner, no.
I remember when Mr. Kushner was going around with his. No, I don't want it. With his
Doreen Massey.
Doreen Massey, and
From the office.
I still see.
She was
her.
secretary at the
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
she
they were.
They were what?
They got married. Didn't I just tell that story?
Anyway, have I run out of
Around
time? Because I'm willing to pass the mic.
Nobody's reaching for the.
Sorry?
Nobody's reaching for the cane.
For the cave?
Cane.
Cane.
The cane, which means the hook. I know about hooks.
Judy, I have a question.
Yeah.
We had a music teacher in grade 8, and I can't remember who that was.
A music teacher.
Music teacher.
Maybe it was your dad.
He had the choir, right?
Yeah.
Dad had the choir.
I remember that you begged your dad to let me come into the
In his
choir
room because I said he was
because I had a lousy voice.
Where's Diane? There you are, Diane. One day at lunch you said, Judy, do you have to go to choir? Come on, let's go to town instead. And it was choir day.
Yeah.
But I couldn't resist Diane with her curly red hair and her big smile. So I went with Diane to town, and my dad was not a happy man.
My God, that took a lot of courage.
Are you
to
kidding
do
me? I was
that.
just a dope.
I mean, for you to do that
You probably got
against your
penalized.
father.
I did. I won't go into details, no. I just thought of Miss Conrad. I still remember French 10.
Oh my
I forget
God.
French 20, 30, and 40,
But
but I remember
French
French 10.
10.
Miss Conrad, yeah.
Come on, ça va.
She was short.
Jean
Jean
Claude
Salve.
Je regarde autour de moi. Anyway, it's somebody else's turn to do this. I actually have enjoyed this last 10 minutes or whatever.
We enjoyed
I've
it
taken.
too.
I love Delta High. I was ripped up when we moved to Nelson so that I did not graduate with you. Anyway, that's another long
But
story.
you
Next
were,
time I'll tell that story.
You were with us in spirit.
I was definitely with you in spirit.
Judy, thank you for that. Somebody else like to
Yeah.
wrap?
I'll try and do a continuation of the speech of 1956. How's that?
Yeah.
Were you the valedictorian?
I was a valedictorian.
He was.
Can you hear me? That's too bad. Anyway, first of all, I'd just like to, Doug had already mentioned about the grad committee, and I would just like to thank you again, and Maureen. Do you know, when I said I was going to my 60th grad reunion, people looked at me and like, what? A lot of people don't get to go to any grad. What it takes is one or two people to get a committee together and do it. And we've just been so fortunate. So thank you again.
Here, here. So, Doug, the members of your committee, Sharon,
Barb,
Barb, of course,
and Joy.
and Joy. Yeah.
Maureen.
I hope you know how thankful we are.
Maureen.
Yeah.
I am as well.
Yeah.
What are
Okay.
you? Well, he was part of it.
All right. Well, 60 years. Where have they gone? Seems like just yesterday we were getting ready for the big evening. Under the guidance and pampering of, and possibly a mother, a sibling or two, and a relative or friend with manicure or hair experience. The girls were getting all nails painted, the makeup and every hair and curl placed perfectly. Once accomplished, they slipped into their perfect dress that possibly took 2 or 3 shopping trips to find. Under the direction or orders of a parent, the guys had to cut their fingernails, comb or brush their hair, and then fight their way into an ill-fitting rented tuxedo with a very starched collar.
I refuse to use something like that.
And there's one exception to that, is I think Jack's didn't fit at all. And Doug drove him all the way into Vancouver to do something about it. And I think they spent that whole afternoon, like 60 years ago this afternoon, sitting in the ferry lineup. So, but the rest of it. Now you're probably wondering how I know all this about girls. Well, I had 3 daughters and 4 granddaughters. And that process goes on for high school grads and weddings. University grads, I'm not sure. They wear frocks or smocks or whatever you call frocks. And what they wear under that, I'm not sure what it is, if anything. And anyway, after all the getting dressed, off to the big evening. The adult speakers poured out accolades. The parents sat in awe of that they had spawned such wonderful beings. And yes, we reminisced and felt sorry we were leaving our beloved Delta High. However, at the same time, we were glad to be finished with public school and anxious to get on with the new phase of our lives. The world was our oyster. So what did we do with that oyster? I do not know what everyone did, but I started listing down occupations of the ones that I'm familiar with and finally gave up. You can pretty well go through every letter of the alphabet and find one or multiple occupations at that letter. For example, A we've got agriculture, administration, we've got an author. Doug mentioned Don. He's got a published book. And it's called Inappropriate Conduct, by the way. And it's a well-researched mystery of a disgraced war correspondent. Another item of interest, I wonder how many, if you take our grad class and then take the children, the grandchildren, and now the great-grandchildren, I wonder how many people have worked down, or how that group would work out. So where do we go from here? Well, I wish I had some great advice. For me, especially in the early morning, sometimes need a very strong black coffee and a good hot shower, and I finally get ticking. But once I have that, things look good, and I realize there's a few more miles left. So I guess my only advice would be enjoy what we have, particularly friends and above all family, and keep dreaming about what we want to do. Set goals, make plans, and go for it. So with that, I hope to see you in another few years, or Nancy would say, another year. In fact, Nancy, I realized in the alphabet there's another thing, P for perfect. Thank you.
I just want to say what I did after high school. I don't think anybody really knows.
We know you're perfect.
What I did,
About to find out.
I was part of working for BC
Hang
Tel
on,
at
that
that
was good.
time.
I'm right on the same wavelength.
Oh, thanks.
But I joined the Royal Canadian Navy as a Wren, and a friend that came to our school in grade 12, Pat, what's her last name? Anyway, Pat, her first name was, and she joined with me, and we were in the Royal Canadian Navy for at least 3 years. That's where I met my husband. But I ended up at the very beginning on something that that I wasn't at all interested in. It was navigation plot, like plotting the ships at sea. And I worked hard to get back to the West Coast, where I took my nurse's training. So, the end. The end. Woohoo!
It's not the end.
No, it wasn't the end.
No.
You didn't do nurses training.
Yes, I did. I did at HMCS Naden, which was just playing the band.
I thought you were a kindergarten teacher.
I was. I
many
was.
things.
You're anything.
I was, integrated preschool teacher, but that was that came along long. So when I thought about, God, what kind of adventure did I have growing up, and but joining the Navy took quite a bit. Yeah.
And good for you, Nancy. If anybody remembers recess, I think we're going to take about a 5-minute break. We've had lots of people chatting and asking questions, and then we have a history quiz. And so I want you to, if you can choose a partner, find not your spouse, not somebody that's necessarily part of the committee, because we already know the answers. But if you can grab a partner, we're going to do a quiz in about 5 minutes. We'll just give everybody a chance to charge their glass and spend a few minutes relaxing from some of the conversation that we've had so far. So thank you kindly. And we're sitting around in our backyard, and you'll remember our backyard a bit because I know you've been here in past times, and we're enjoying the sunshine. Fortunately, all the prayers that people were putting in have helped a little bit, and it's an enjoyable afternoon, and we've had a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, a great lunch, and Nigel called, and we had a chance to interact with him, and it was good of him to give us a phone call. I knew you were going to be calling in, so and I'll let them know that you completed the quiz history test on your own with no cheating, and we're going to pick that up off the email shortly, and we're going to have that quiz probably when we get finished with our conversation with yourself, and there may be one or two more of our folks that would like to say a few words to their colleagues here today before we go off and have our afternoon nap. So I'm going to give you a chance just to say a few words to the group that are sitting here with great anticipation.
Is everybody inside, or are you?
No, we're all out. We're all outside in our backyard.
Hi, Roy. It's Barbara right here.
Hi, Barb.
How are you?
Hi, Roy.
I hear
Ron
from
Watts
you
here.
lately. I appreciate your emails.
See here,
I thought it was her the last time.
If you went in there, Ron was asking me.